Hello guys, it is that Panda Guy and I'm here again with another video, and this one is honestly going to be a bit longer, but I wanted to dissect some of the top brackets. I'm not sure where I'll stop at, probably 3 again, because I feel that these videos are very lengthy. Honestly, let me know in the comment section if you don't actually mind if I blab for an hour straight, for example. Obviously, I probably won't talk for a full hour straight, but if I was to go through, 10 brackets, for example, just going I don't know, whatever, just let me know in the comments how you guys feel about that, because obviously you can stop whenever or skip to whatever bracket you want to see me talk about. But yeah, I do want to start this video by saying that I will be trying to stream tomorrow. If you guys are interested, I will be trying to do it around reset. I've been working on my OBS, so I do hope everything goes as planned. As long as everything does, I will be streaming, so maybe tune in for that and try to pop in chat so I stay a little entertained and I'm not super bored. But yeah, I hope you guys maybe like that. Also, I want to mention real quick before I pop in, I have almost no resources. I'm 1,000,000% burning through my bags, guys. Like, this is going to be a bad one for me. So we're going to start off at G1, obviously, and we are going to be in a predicament, guys. So to start off, I will talk about these 6 alliances. I do want to just say right away, I think these 6 alliances will have very little impact on how this island goes, and this isn't to sound offensive in any way. It's just how it is, I feel, because, I mean, like, they have no, like, it's whale meta in G1, right? Like, it's just gonna be rough, right? Obviously it's gonna be a mainly Boone versus HMB fight, and I think these alliances will just fight each other for points for the most case. But yeah, so I will just talk about like KZ real quick and Cozy. So these are obviously alliances from our region, but they lack obviously whale power, and they dropped a lot of members to try to get down in the brackets, but it didn't work. And also you just see, like, there's just no whales here, right? So obviously they can't really do much. Even if they wanted to help on the field, they aren't much help. In Rain's case, I am way more skeptical about them and their allegiance, because they're with NWO in Region 5. I know we've had past relations with NWO, so I don't know how that might go. And even if they do ally with us or they ally with either team, I don't see it being really impactful in any way. But obviously, yeah, that's really about it. There's ANCC, obviously from Region 10, so you're not really gonna be seeing like I mean, they're only 2 billion might, right? And they don't have any whales there. Not really much you can expect. There's SOS. SOS is much bigger. And same with H and Z, but I just don't see these guys really being able to do much with only 80 million and 70 million players, not really being able to help much on the field. They probably wouldn't be able to coordinate as much as well. It's same with H and Z. They do have one whale, but I just don't see this being a big help. And that's no offense to any of these alliances, right? It just is how it is. So now I will talk about how I think this is going to go and how I think that this can go for either alliance. So I do want to start off by actually talking about Boone. And Boone only registered with 160 members. And guys, this isn't an excuse, but I will get to the point of me saying that. So obviously, I think donations are a big part in Island, and I think that for this island, this will be very particular about who is able to beat who in like a race, right? If you're able to tower faster. So if Boone is able to somehow cut off HMB, I find this being more advantageous for Boone, obviously, and they lack the members to, one, donate, as well as just manpower. I was actually quite surprised that we didn't top off the alliance before registering, but it is how it is, and we're going to be fighting with like 160 members. And we also are just lacking donations, whereas HMB is completely full. So that is just one area that we're going to be kind of cut off in. And I think that, obviously the big thing is really going to be us building and trying to cut them off and forcing them to tower into us. And the big hope would probably be to force like tower swarms or just them rallying our towers. I think that Boone in a war of attrition on like the field or something will honestly lose. We have way smaller whales. Even if we have tier 6 players, I think that we just aren't able to maintain healing as long as a lot of HMB. Even like an example, Hands and Envy, I'm sure that these guys alone could put up some insane points. Obviously you see their parts are all max. These guys would be able to just whale tank on the field. They would be able to heal for an eternity, and that would burn out multiple tier 6 players just by themselves by the time those guys finally got burnt out. So I do think that in general, Boone is at a big disadvantage come to the field. So I think the best they can do is try to only push the field when they really need it. We need to clear the field and just drop a tower, right? And then we drop that tower, we clear the field again, we drop another tower. If they just keep trying to, kind of sit on our towers, I find that being the most that we can really do. And trying to just preserve our energy, try to build in a way that's going to force them to tower into us and kind of siege on our towers. We don't want to be on the attacking end. Nevertheless, the fact that we're lacking manpower and Adam might disadvantage here, I just think that if we are attacking, obviously we have more deaths, and I think that, like I said, as long as we can eat the healing cost, I think that this is very possible to win. Though nonetheless, I still think that that will be very difficult, being that HMB has a lot of people who are whales and just manage to swarm towers like crazy. And those will make the rally results better. That will also burn out multiple players just on their own by swarming these towers until they are like kind of low on troops. So in general, I just find this to be a very interesting matchup, and honestly, win or lose, I think that this is going to be a fun island, and I hope that everybody's gonna have fun watching it. So I will be trying to get some good content out of it. And before we talk about G2, I want to talk about G21 and just say, what the heck is this matchmaking, guys? I saw Doom in G21 at 4.7 billion might when registered, and there's not a single alliance that's over 3 billion here. This is insane. We have like only two, like 1 billish, 2 billish alliances here. This bracketing is so balls. Okay, I just wanted to mention that real quick, guys. Actually, just terrible bracketing right there. So next is ANCS. So for ANCS here in G2 as well as RPG, I think that these two are obviously going to be big players, and you can most likely see these two kind of allying together in G2, and I think how this is really going to turn out is going to be very dependent on the other alliances. And before I start talking about this, I want to go to Region 3 real quick and show you guys something about RPG. And just say that RPG, although I still think that these guys are strong and are going to be able to put up a pretty good fight without their main, fighters, they are actually lacking some of their main fighters, being it LeBron, Master, and even Catastrophe, right? So that's going to be a very big downside for them, and they're going to be kind of put in a bad situation if they're forced to fight BTW, or at least I think so, right? Because I want to say, like, let's say they 1v1 BTW. I honestly think that BTW wins, and I've heard like some other opinions on this, but BTW I think are a very coordinated group. Not like, also besides the fact that they're stronger might wise, they have just more of a whale base. Although like obviously RPG has a lot more, or a lot of 100 mil players as well. I think the issue for them is, even if they're 100 mil, like the whale factor is going to be way smaller in their case, being that they're older players, and I can just see a lot of those players having spent less, and that being a big just reason why they might win or lose, whatever. Okay, I'm not going to keep looking at the map because it's kind of hard to show you guys just by clicking on alliances. Oh no, wait, I can't even map overview on these other maps. Okay, I'm stupid, guys, so I'm just going to go back to this. So for I think that this is really going to depend on how the alliances turn out. I can honestly see ANCS tanking and winning this bracket, but it really depends, right? Because I think that Fine is in a tough situation here. Obviously, probably forced to choose between ANCS as well as DBN, and depending on how that goes, I think that could be game changer. Obviously a pretty solid alliance, like 7 billish might, pretty decent player base here, might wise and all. You also have 42 MP. I think that these guys are in a more particular spot. They actually have a pretty good amount of, I would say at least 5, 6, maybe even 7 tier 6 guys. I would stop around 5 or 6, but yeah, they have a pretty good amount of tier 6, but obviously they lack in troops, they lack in might, they lack in experience, and they lack in time. Being a region 42 alliance, just making their situation extremely rough. That is honestly super sad. So I can't blame them if they ally with ANCS, but let's say theoretically that DBN, Fine, 42 MP, as well as SOA and BTW allied together. I will not mention Mob since they are kind of in a really sad spot, being that, I mean, dude, look at this. This is so sad, dude. 2 billion might, and they were stuck in this bracket. But nonetheless, let's say that all these guys were allied together. I honestly can see ANCS and RPG losing. I can see BTW just taking down RPG and trying to put the remaining energy into helping with the project against ANCS. I think the big issue in this case will be lack of whales, right? ANCS obviously has more of a whale base, way more top tier players here, like just people who are willing to go crazy, right? Can endure on the field a lot longer, all that kind of stuff. Soap, obviously going to probably be a target. I think that Soap, although I like these guys, like I think they're pretty good people, pretty nice. They just lack whales, right? They have two main whales, and that just means that in tower fights, for example, they're going to be overwhelmed if they're pushed from too many sides, or even forced to hold towers, right? Or even hold like one tower. And I don't know. I just think this is really rough. Obviously, by themselves, they couldn't maintain field presence. DBN is obviously another ally that would be very, manageable for them at being 7.6 billion. I also do want to mention that these guys are massive fighters. Nonetheless, always just willing to die for the cause. I think that's a really good way to look at how good people are at fighting. But you kind of look at their player base. I will say they do have a lot more top players, like who possibly have tier 6. But when you compare them to obviously ANCS, they just like lack in the numbers of tier 6. So if they don't have help from all these other alliances, I think they're obviously going to be overwhelmed on the field as well as towers, because they're going to be forced to go into a turtle stance, I think, and they would just be forced to try to hold down as many towers as possible before getting overwhelmed. Next is obviously Fine. I think that Fine would be kind of in a middle ground. I wouldn't say they have like an insane amount of whales, but they still do have a good number base. I think the big issue is also going to be coordinating, right? Even if all these alliances ally together, I've had this situation before where we would ally against someone and we would lose just because we weren't able to coordinate well enough and we gave them 1v1s. For example, if Soap built up right now, right, and ANCS instantly targeted them, Soap needs to back off these towers and wait for their allies to put pressure. You don't want to feed all your troops away, give ANCS free kills on you, just drain your alliance, and then you let ANCS 1v1 all these other alliances. That being said, I honestly don't see ANCS and RPG being the only allies together and then the rest allying against them. It's a really hard one to see because I can just imagine that one alliance here is going to feel threatened and be like, yeah, these guys are the pick I need to go with, and I cannot blame them. It's probably the smart choice. So honestly, this bracket I think is going to be more, I'm more skeptical about, but I honestly can see ANCS and RPG coming out as like number 1 and 2, and whoever allies with them as possible number 3, if anybody allies with them. But I guess that will be, to be seen. And next, I'm probably going to stop here because I'm running out of like breath and juice. But G3. So I do want to just start off by talking about KL and Org. I like KL. I think KL are pretty good fighters, and the only issue I'll see is the fact that they only have 90 players, obviously lacking in donations, but they do have a pretty good amount of whales who are willing to just go ham. I'm sure, like I know like Big Daddy over here. I love the guy. He's pretty good fighter, and I mean, like, compared to a lot of these alliances obviously who lack a big whale like that who's able to go ham and just keep jumping on the field, I think that's going to be a really hard one to hold down. And it's also the same situation with Orc. They're fighters, but they lack numbers as well. I think they like dumped a bunch of players to kind of maybe get a better bracket, but obviously that wasn't the case and they got stuck in G3. So I think that if KL and Orc allied together, possibly could dominate together. NWO is a big player. I know from the past, Double Trouble, pretty good fighter. Iridescent, I don't even probably pronouncing that wrong. Iridescent or Decine. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. But they do have a few whales, pretty old alliance as well, so they do probably have more resources to burn. Obviously better heroes and stuff. These guys definitely a big factor. AOW is a pretty big alliance here, 7 billion. Definitely big, massive players, depending on how much they're willing to fight. I mean, I don't know. I can see this going any way because I actually don't have much information on this bracket and how this could go. Obviously, like, Fox could ally with anybody, Thor could ally with anybody, Chev could ally with anybody. I don't even know, like, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I don't really know Chev. Chev is at 3 billion. I mean, they have 2 T6 here, it seems. pretty solid, I guess. But the thing is, they're like really restricted on how much they can do. Obviously, a way smaller alliance, meaning way less troops. I'm actually gonna check how old their region is real quick, or like what region they're in. Sorry, this is like really slow at loading. I don't know why it's doing this, guys. And it's my game's just bugging. Okay, well, I'm okay there. Region 35. So obviously they're much newer region in comparison. That's like gonna be a much bigger issue, being at heroes and stuff. They're probably gonna be lacking. I know Vin. I think that Vin are willing to actually fight. So I like Vin. I like Vin. I hope that these guys get a good ally, because I'm a favorable person towards Vin. I've been allies with them in the past, and my game's just really laggy right now. So looks like I'm not gonna be able to click on alliances very much here. But I'm just gonna talk about them. Thor. I saw Thor earlier. They are kind of okay. There, it's finally showing. They are 3.6 bill as well, much smaller alliance. I see like some players who might be able to fight or put up a fight. Crazy Beefcake here looks like a freaking monster. It's honestly going to be, I think this is a really balanced bracket, honestly. This is going to be a really balanced bracket. Besides maybe AOW and even NWO, I see the rest being more balanced and just having more even fights that could happen on like towers and stuff. So honestly, it's going to really depend on, Wales. I can't give much of a discernment, because I'm not very sure how these these alliances are with each other. I know that NWO and AOW have a pretty good past, so I can honestly see NWO and AOW allying together, making this a really hard fight for the rest of the bracket. If AOW manages to ally with like Fox, or even like, I don't know, KL or Orc, or even Vin. I mean, obviously Vin is gonna be in a bad spot here. Like, now that I think about it, since NWO and AOW have a good history, Vin is kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place, right? So poor Vin. I love Vin. Why Vin? But yeah, this is gonna be a really weird bracket to see. But I'm gonna stop it off there, and yeah, I don't want to really talk anymore because I feel I'm just blabbing my butt off. But yeah, you guys, though, I do appreciate you guys, though, and that is about it into the video. So you guys have a good day or night, though, and I'll see you guys in the next one, or at Island by this time. So yeah, you guys have a good day, though, and I'll see you guys. Peace. Oh my gosh, I'm clicking on the wrong stuff.